Ever feel like that word pension is kind of like a secret code word for financial mystery in your future?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not alone.
No, not at all.
So today, we're cracking that code. We're doing a deep dive right into the world of pensions. And we've got some excerpts here from Wikipedia's article called Pension.
And we're going to try to really, not just define what a pension is, but give you the tools to really understand how they work, where they came from, the history of pensions, what challenges they're facing right now, today, in the world.
Exactly. We'll be covering the different types of pensions. We're going to be looking at the global landscape, even going back in time a little bit and looking at pension history.
Yeah.
So are you ready to time travel with me and become fluent in the language of retirement finance?
I am so ready. Let's do it.
All right, let's go. First things first. What exactly is a pension?
So a pension, to put it simply, is basically a retirement plan where you put in a portion of your income while you're working, and then after you retire, it pays you back in regular installments, like magic.
Okay, so that's the what. But what about the why? Why are pensions set up this way?
It's all about having that income after you're done working, right? Like you're not working your 9 to 5 anymore. It's a financial cushion for those, golden years. But the thing is, there are different types. There are different flavors of pensions, you could say. The most common ones you hear about are like defined benefit and defined contribution plans. And let me tell you, they are very different. Like as different as pineapple on pizza, you either love it or you hate it.
Ooh, okay. All right, I'm intrigued. So what makes these two types of plans so different?
Okay, so imagine this. You've got a defined benefit plan. Basically, your employer is giving you this roadmap for your retirement. They're saying, hey, no matter what crazy detours life throws your way, this is how much money you're going to get every single month after you retire. And usually they figure out this amount by looking at your salary, how long you've been with the company, that sort of thing.
So it's like a guaranteed paycheck even after you're retired.
You got it.
I can see why people would love this flavor. But you mentioned risk earlier. Where does that come into play?
Yeah, and you hit the nail on the head with that word guaranteed. That's the key difference.
Well,
With this type of plan, your employer, they're the ones taking on the risk. They have to make sure there's enough money in the pension fund to actually make all those payments to you and everyone else in the plan.
oh, I see. So it's like the employer's making a promise to their employees, and they're the ones who have to deliver on that promise, no matter what the stock market's doing or whatever. That's high stakes.
Definitely high stakes.
Huh?
Now, let's flip the script and talk about defined contribution plans. This is where you have a lot more, you're more in control. Instead of that guaranteed amount every month, your retirement income, it all depends on how much you and your employer contributed to your plan and, of course, how well those investments did.
Okay, so it's less about a sure thing and more about like how well you manage the money you put in. Higher risk, higher potential reward.
Exactly. Think of it like a 401k or an IRA. You get to pick and choose your investments. You have more options, but you're also exposed to the ups and downs of, the market, the economy, all that.
So it sounds like a lot more control, but also definitely more responsibility to make smart choices.
Exactly. That's the trade-off. It really boils down to how much risk you're comfortable with and how much control you want over your own money, your own retirement savings.
Wow, this is already making so much more sense. So are there other types of pensions besides these two big ones, or are those pretty much it?
Oh, there are definitely others. Like there are social pensions, which are kind of like a safety net for retirees. These are usually funded by taxes and aren't tied to whether you're employed or not. Think of it like, a base level of income that helps cover the essentials when you're retired.
Right. So it's not always about just what you earn, but also how a country supports its people later in life. Right?
Yeah.
Which that actually makes me wonder, where did this whole idea of pensions even come from? Did they have 401ks carved into stone tablets back in ancient Rome or something?
Laughs. I don't think so. But believe it or not, the idea of a pension, it goes way, way back, like centuries. Actually, one of the earliest pension systems we know of was set up by Augustus Caesar
Wait, really?
for Roman soldiers, Roman legionnaires.
Roman soldiers got pensions. Now, that is some history I was not expecting.
Right. Augustus, he created the special treasury just to fund pensions for retired soldiers. It was a way to make sure the army stayed strong and also to show the soldiers that, hey, if you serve your time, you'll be taken care of even after you retire from the military. It's interesting to see how that idea, providing for people after they've put in their time, whether in the military or in regular job, it's been around for ages.
It really makes you realize this isn't just some new modern idea. It's got deep roots. I'm guessing, though, that Roman pensions probably didn't have to deal with, like, stock market crashes or, inflation caused by a sudden influx of grain from Egypt, right?
Things have definitely gotten more complicated since
Just a
then.
little bit, maybe.
Yeah, just a tad. But that's how things evolve, right? Fast forward a bunch of centuries, and you start to see more modern pension plans taking shape, like in the late 1800s. Germany, especially, was way ahead of the game back then.
Germany, always the innovators. So what did they do that was so groundbreaking?
Well, they were some of the first to make a pension program that was for everybody, all employees, as part of their social system, their social safety net. And that was huge. It meant that more people, not just those with a lot of money or special jobs, could have some financial security in retirement.
So Germany was like, everyone deserves some peace of mind in their later years, regardless of their job or income. What a shift from those Roman legionnaires.
Huge shift. And that model, it's had a big influence on pension systems around the world. But, and you can probably guess what I'm going to say here, no system is perfect. Today's pension landscape, facing a whole bunch of new, very complicated challenges.
That is a great point. I mean, we just went from Roman legionnaires to 19th century Germany in the span of what, like 5 minutes? What a ride. But before we get to those modern day challenges, which I know are out there, let's take a quick pause, a little breather here. We'll be right back to dive into the present day realities of pensions and how things like, global economics and the changing ways people work, all of that, how it all ties in. Don't go anywhere.
And we are back, ready to tackle the present, the here and now, pensions today.
The here and now.
So we took a trip, right, from ancient Rome all the way to, what was that, 19th century Germany. It's been a wild ride through history.
It has.
But something tells me that things are a little different today, right? When it comes to pensions, I mean. Oh, you are absolutely right. Pension systems all over the world, I mean, they're facing this whole bunch of challenges all at once. And a lot of them are tied together. It's complicated, and there are no easy solutions.
No easy solutions.
Yeah.
Well, the article we're looking at, it mentioned something about how populations are aging. Like, that's a big factor, apparently. Can you unpack that a little for us? What does that even mean for pensions?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, people are living longer now, right? And we're also having fewer babies, which, great for individual people. Living longer is good, but it creates this weird situation where there's more pressure on these pension systems, especially the ones that use that, what's it called, that pay-as-you-go model.
Right, because you've got fewer people working, fewer people paying into the system, but more people retiring, more people who need those benefits. It's like, I don't know, it's like trying to bake a cake with less flour, but you've got twice as many guests coming to your party. Something's got to give. Right. Speaking of which, how do those pay-as-you-go systems even handle that kind of pressure? What are their options?
It's tough. It's like this constant balancing act. Governments, they have to get creative. They start looking at things like, oh, maybe we raise the retirement age. But then people get upset, especially those who are, close to retirement already. Or another option is they increase how much everyone has to contribute. But nobody really likes that either because it means less money in your pocket right now.
Yeah, no, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
Tough choices all around.
Yeah.
And it just shows you, again, how connected all of this is, right? I mean, pensions, they're not just this isolated thing. They're tied to the economy, to politics, to how societies are structured. It's a lot.
It's all connected.
It is. So the article, it also mentioned this other thing, underfunding, I think they called it.
Yeah.
Which sounds a little ominous, honestly. What's that all about?
Yeah, underfunding, not a word you want to hear when it comes to your pension. It's basically a pension plan's worst nightmare come true.
Yikes.
It's when basically the plan just doesn't have enough money to actually pay out all the benefits it's promised to people in the future.
Oh, no.
It'd be like, imagine if a restaurant, right, they promised free meals for life to their best customers, which sounds awesome at first, but then they don't actually put aside enough money to actually cover the costs of all those free meals down the line.
Yeah, that's not going to end well for the restaurant or the hungry customers.
Not at all. And a pension fund running out of money, that's a much, much bigger deal than one restaurant closing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So what causes underfunding? Is it just bad investments, or is there more to it than that?
It's rarely just one thing. Sometimes it's that not enough money is being paid in to begin with. Like maybe people are living longer than they used to, so the money has to stretch further. Sometimes the stock market takes a dive, and that hurts the pension fund's investments.
And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes it's just bad planning, right? Like governments or companies, they promise more than they can deliver, whether it's because something unexpected happened or, they just didn't think it through.
Yeah, unfortunately that happens too, and when it does, people lose trust in the whole system.
For sure. Okay, so we've got aging populations making things tighter. We've got this threat of underfunding making things unstable. Is there any way out of this? I mean, it sounds like a recipe for, like, economic indigestion or something.
Oh, it is definitely a web of challenges, that's for sure. And if you thought it couldn't get any messier, well, here comes the gig economy to stir things up even more.
Ah, yes, the gig economy. Everyone's talking about it these days. But how does that whole thing even factor into pensions?
So think about it. Pensions, they've traditionally been very linked to the idea of, having a traditional job. You work for a company, they contribute to your pension. It all made sense.
Right, like this unspoken agreement or a part of the deal when you accept a job, something like that.
Exactly. But then the gig economy comes along and says, hold my beer. Suddenly you have all these people working as freelancers, independent contractors, all that, and they don't have access to those employer-sponsored plans.
They're kind of on their own when it comes to retirement.
Pretty much. And that is a big concern because now all the responsibility is on the individual and not everyone has the knowledge or the resources to, plan for retirement effectively.
Yeah, it's a whole other ballgame. So it sounds like pensions are being squeezed from all sides, dealing with these big long-term issues, but then also having to adapt to this new world of work. Any hope for the future? Any solutions out there?
The million-dollar question. Well, one idea that's gaining some traction is this thing called are you ready for it? The three-pillar approach.
3 pillars. Sounds kind of biblical. Break it down for me. What are these 3 pillars of retirement wisdom?
Okay, so picture this. You've got a roof, right? That roof represents a secure retirement. And holding that roof up, you've got 3 pillars. Each pillar is a different source of income, and they all work together to keep that roof stable.
Okay, I like this analogy. So what are the pillars?
All right, so pillar number 1, this is the foundation. It's your basic public pension funded by, the government, taxes, that sort of thing, like Social Security here in the U.S. It's a safety net for everyone, no matter what your work history looks like. Just the bare minimum to make sure everyone has at least something.
Got it. So what's pillar number 2?
Pillar number 2, that's where those mandatory privately managed pension plans come in, often run through employers. They build on top of that first pillar, that safety net, and give you a bit more cushion, a bit more comfort in retirement.
Okay, so it's like the government's got your back, but you and your employer are also chipping in to build something more substantial. Got it. What about that third pillar then? The mystery pillar.
Pillar number 3, this is all about you. It's about you having more control, more flexibility. It's your own personal savings and investments that you make to, really feather that retirement nest. Could be a 401k, could be real estate, whatever makes sense for you.
It's like adding on that sunroom or finishing the basement, right? Making it your own.
Exactly. You got it.
I love that. Okay, so this 3-pillar approach, it's about building a system that's stronger, more adaptable, and it shares the responsibility a bit more. Is anyone doing this well? Like any countries we should be taking notes from?
A lot of countries are trying to move towards this model, but some are further along than others. The Netherlands, for example, they often get mentioned as having a pretty solid multi-pillar system.
Interesting. So it's like this global experiment, right? Everyone's trying to figure out what works best for them.
Exactly. It's all about evolving and adapting constantly. And speaking of adapting, we should probably talk about how all those big global economic trends play into this whole pension puzzle.
Ooh, yeah, good point. We'll be right back after a quick break to talk about how those global forces, those like rogue waves in the ocean, can really rock the pension boat. Stay tuned.
And we are back for more pension talk.
Back for the final round.
Round 3.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, so we've journeyed through centuries of pension history?
Century.
Ancient Rome, modern-day Germany, and everywhere in between. But now we got to talk about, like you said, global economics, right? All those big forces that really impact pensions.
Exactly. It's like even if you've got this perfectly designed pension system, right, those global forces, they can really rock the boat.
They really can. So we've talked about how individual countries are trying different things, but it seems like these global forces, they add this whole other layer of I don't know, it's like playing a game of chess on a moving train or something.
Yes, that's a great way to put it. And one of the biggest rogue waves out there right now, it's got to be low interest rates, right? Those have been all over the news for a while now. But how do low interest rates, I mean, they sound good for some things, right?
Yeah.
How do those end up impacting pensions?
So it all comes back to how pensions actually make money, especially these big funds, right? They rely on getting good returns on their investments. When interest rates are down, those returns shrink. It's like trying to bake a cake with less sugar.
It's just not going to be as sweet,
Exactly. It'll still be a cake, but.
not as good. Okay, so low interest rates, those are a big deal. What are some of the other, like the other global currents that are affecting pensions? What else is out there?
Oh, globalization itself, right. That's huge. Companies are all over the world now. People are moving around more for work. It makes it really, really hard to coordinate pension systems across different countries.
Right. It's like trying to write a rule book for a game, but every country gets to, like, make up their own special rules.
Exactly. It's a mess.
Total mess.
And then on top of that, you've got things like, just general instability around the world, politically, economically. You've got recessions, things like that. And all of that, it sends shockwaves through the global market, which can mess with pension investments and lead to, you guessed it, more underfunding.
Right. Back to that. It's like we often think of pensions as being tied to, like, our jobs, right? Or to our own individual country. But it's so much bigger than that, isn't it?
It really is. It's all connected.
So what can people do? I mean, we can't control global interest rates. We can't single-handedly prevent a recession. How do we navigate all of this to make sure we have, some financial security later in life?
That is the question. And honestly, the best thing you can do, educate yourself, understand the system, understand how it all works, and then make informed decisions.
Knowledge is power and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So, first things first, figure out what kind of pension system your country even has. What are you entitled to? What are the rules? All of that. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Talk to a financial advisor if you need to. Read up on pension policies, whatever it takes.
So do your homework.
Yeah, basically. And then, this is key, be proactive about your own retirement savings, whether it's through work or an IRA or whatever. The more you understand about where your money is going, the better.
Right. Don't just, like, set it and forget it. You got to stay engaged.
Exactly.
This has been really eye-opening, I got to say.
I agree.
We've gone from ancient soldiers to, like, global economic forces in the span of, like, half an hour?
Time flies when you're talking pensions.
It really does.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest takeaway here, for me at least, is that pensions, they're not this scary, unknowable thing.
Right.
Once you understand the basics, it's like anything else. You can make a plan, you can make choices that are right for you.
Exactly. And that's what we want people to take away from this deep dive.
Yes, exactly. So to everyone listening, thank you for coming on this journey with us. And remember, the future's not set in stone, especially when it comes to your finances.
You've got options.
You've got options. So until next time, be well, be informed, and we'll see you on our next deep dive.